Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Track Noise. I hope you're having a great week, and Ipswich are very much making it a great week to remember so far as they beat Hull City last night 2-0 to start off their 3 games in a row away from home with a victory. To look back on Ipswich's 2-0 victory at home, I'm delighted to say I'm joined by Rob Binns for the first time in a while, Rob. It's good to see you.
Yeah, I was thinking that earlier. I haven't been on one for a while, and the last one I did was on my own. So it's nice to actually sit and talk to somebody for the first time in must be at least a month.
Well, I think the last time we spoke was the Charlton loss,
Oh,
3
bloody
0
hell.
and really, it's been a turnaround since then. We'll obviously get into the game, but really, since that game, obviously Wrexham on the weekend wasn't what we wanted, but it's six games now, I think, without a loss, and 14 points out of potential. My math is pretty bad. 17, 18. That's probably incorrect, but it's looking good in the past few games, isn't it?
Yeah, it's turned around a lot because it was it was the one just before the international break that
Yeah.
when I was sort of sat talking to myself about the Swansea game
Yes.
and saying that fortunes have sort of turned since then, and then we'll see how it goes when we come back. And we've taken 4 points from the first 2 games since coming back. It's what obviously we would have wanted to win them both, consider it, but Wrexham had a game plan and stuck to it, which sort of made that very hard for us to be able to do when they sat back that much to go and get something. But as we've been improving on the road recently, haven't we? Going into the international break, and another not as pretty this time round, but another big result on the road against a team who started the season very well, and it was always going to be a tough game, and we hung on in there. It wasn't pretty, like I said, but got the result in the end, and that's all we can do, really. Climbing up the table still.
Absolutely. I think going into the game, as me and Richard pointed out on Monday's show, I think Hull were 6 games unbeaten at home as well. So very much home was a fortress for them for the past few games. So it was a tough game going into tonight. I was quite fearful considering their spot in the table as well, but obviously was coming away with a victory. Just looking at the lineup, obviously with a midweek game and only a few days ago, I should say, sorry, after playing Wrexham on the weekend, obviously changes are expected, but nothing too dramatic, I wouldn't say, really. Kind of areas of the pitch you kind of do expect to see change, but you had obviously Walton in goal, back 4, Furlong, O'Shea or Greaves coming in for Kipre and Davis at the left, Matasi or Custe pairing there again, McAteer on the right, Nunes in the 10, which we're all loving to see at the moment, Jack Clark on the left, and then George Hurst making his return to the starting 11. Like, obviously we're going to see changes regardless, but any surprises there, Rob, or any welcome additions in the 11 before we get into the nitty-gritty of the game?
I'd like to see Clark. I think we've almost hit that point now. I think where because we've got 2 very informed left wingers that we're sort of rotating between the 2. But it always feels like now that it's Philogene when we're at home and Clark when we're away. Because
Yeah.
I feel like Clark seems to fare better away from home, and Philogene has scored all his goals at Portman Road. So it seems like we almost have an option depending on whatever game we've got about what winger plays what game. And so I did think it would be Clark. McAteer one surprised me a bit, but then I suppose again that I don't know. I think the fact I don't know really. I know you guys spoke about him after the Wrexham game. Really, it's not clicked. But then we've travelled the length of the country to play a game 2 days after our last one. There are going to be changes, and we've got a lot of options on the wing. So that was probably it was expected, really, in terms of the rotation side of things. Whether it was the best option for that right wing to start the game, but when we're playing Saturday, Tuesday every week now for the next month or something like that,
Friday,
then you need to rotate around, don't you? Oh
Yeah.
yeah, Friday this time, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, considering, as you said, may not be the most welcome addition to the team, but considering how quick the turnaround is, it wasn't a surprise. But yeah, it wasn't maybe the brightest performances from him again. But yeah, really a tale of 2 halves. This game is what I've written down in my show notes here, Rob. Obviously, it wasn't overly televised for Town fans this evening. Obviously, we're being a 8:45 kickoff, but some people did manage to catch it as well. And 2,000 travelling fans, as you said, opposite end of the country, but fantastic away support. James was actually at the game. We are going to have a little voice note from him, as we've had whenever any of us are at the game this season. I think I'm the only one now not to go to a game yet this season. You guys have all let your voice in us. I'll try and rectify that as the season rolls on, but we'll have that just before the first break as well, or maybe after the break as on today's show. But yeah, really a tale of 2 halves. The first half really was an echo, really, of a lot of games you've had this season where it's not much pace, very, very sluggish. I think there's a bit of a hangover from the weekend, to be honest, and a lack of creativity, and it really wasn't all we wanted to see. I mean, there wasn't much to speak about really from the first half. I think the biggest takeaway from it, which led to Jack Taylor coming on at the start of the second half, was Tuesday picked up a knock after clashing with one of the Hull players, and he went off with that. Obviously, Tuesday he's kind of been phased out of the starting 11 really since Taylor's fantastic emergence recently, and now Tuesday's picked a knock up. Just we'll talk about the goals and the victory. It's great to celebrate a win, of course, but just Tuesday in general, like we're 16 games into the season now, and I'm very glad he's back. But and obviously, like I said, 6 games unbeaten. Like the team is looking good on paper, but I think we still need a bit more from him. Well, what should we expect of him in the position he plays and what he can bring to the team? Because he's obviously a great player, isn't he?
Yeah, we know he's there because we saw it last year, but it hasn't come into fruition in the Championship so far. He's had a few moments. Normally, it's like half hour, 45-minute spells of games where he's played really well, and I can't remember who it was against. There was someone in the first half, he just looked unplayable and dictated the entire game, and so it is in there. But like you said, look, can you imagine saying at the start of the season when we were fighting to get this deal over the line that within a couple of months that Jack Taylor would be keeping him out of the team because he's playing better than him? As say someone who we've always said doesn't really fit the system, and we don't know what he does, but he's now managing to keep Al Cajuste. Who would have thought it was an absolute steal to get him and to come and let him drop down and play in this division because he had offers from all over the place to play top division football. I think maybe the Premier League one didn't materialise, which is probably why he did come back, but he had offers certainly from Italy in the top division over there too. And he chose to come back and hasn't worked as well as it did last year so far, but certainly don't want to lose him. But I hope that's not a bad knock, because like I say, the quality's there and he has shown it in spells, and sometimes that even if it's only for half an hour in a game, that might be enough to be a bit of a spark for us to go. We saw it in this game, didn't we? It sparked into life quite suddenly, and we scored twice in about 7 minutes and won the game like that. So if he has a little spell where he just controls everything that happens and we score a couple of goals, that could be enough to win us a game. So you need his quality in and around the squad, even though he probably isn't in our best starting 11 at the moment. But hopefully he's not out for too long.
Yeah, I think of him is like he's not necessarily sort of making mistakes or one of those players fans are sort of shouting at for performing poorly. I think, as you said, though, it's just considering how great he was in what was a poor season last year. It shows how great he is, really, isn't it? The fact that we're able to sort of applaud him, and we were we were very keen and happy for him to return to Portman Road, considering how great it was last year. And just you think maybe being in the league below, we would have seen a bit more this season, but he hasn't really. But I mean, a player who's really, I think, performing so well in that role, and in my opinion, was Town's player of the match. Played, I think the full 90. Played the vast majority of the game at least. Played the full 90. It was Matasiwa. Just looked so assured in the middle, breaking down potential counter-attacks from Hull just outside their box, which led to some chances from us in the first, and did it again in the second, then did it around the halfway line, leading to chances created, and just looks really, really like just a top quality player now. And shaky start, obviously, of it being a new club at the start of the season, but he's a nailed-on starter and just looks really, really solid in his role, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's thriving now, isn't he? After a bit of a few dodgy moments in the early games, but so he probably is the first name on a team sheet now. If he mainly because we probably don't have any sort of replacement for him, and that's the thing. I think obviously we're talking about Cajuste there, but we're on a great run of form, we're flying up the table, but a Matasiwa injury, and I do think it falls apart quite significantly at the moment because he's so influential. He said he was probably the best player on the pitch today, even though he doesn't say not someone who gets the headlines, but one of my mates, as he was watching, was texting me back and forth and made multiple references to N'Golo Kante when he was talking about.
My dad said the same during the game, actually. Sorry to interrupt you. He said the same.
They're popping up all over the place, and he is there. I mean, you see how much we miss him. I think I can't remember which one it was, either Phil Ham or Callum. When on that episode, when they had them come on, said then that you notice how much we miss him because the one game he wasn't there, he only missed one because he was suspended. and that was Charlton, and we know what happened there. And they that's exactly his sort of role in the team where Charlton thrived. They were doing us on the break, and you see what Hull were trying to do that tonight, and who was there stopping them. And there you go. He's so important, and he's hit a very good run of form now. And I say he is probably, in my opinion anyway, the most important player in that team. I think as long as we keep him fit and playing well, then these results are going to continue to keep coming in, because we don't keep clean sheets very often. So to get 2 in a week, I know Wrexham was a disappointing game, but 2 clean sheets in 3 days is very good for us, considering how many goals we've let in the last sort of, I was going to say 2 years, but even the year we come up, there's never been a particularly strong defensive setup since the League One promotion season. So I'm happy with 2 clean sheets in 3 days, and he's been a big part of that, especially tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, clean sheets wise, like I said on Monday's show, defensively, well, I think we're looking a lot better now, and it's something you didn't necessarily expect from us, I think, moving forward. And it's just seems like, not for most, we're always going to get a clean sheet, of course, but this team looks a lot more assured defensively now, which I think is a really, really good thing. You can only really hope to do that. But it's funny as well, like you said, with the away form, we're doing a lot better. I mean, you said earlier in the season, or I think maybe Rich said as well, it's not necessarily something you want to adopt. It's like win your home games and draw your away games, and you should be right throughout the season. We're kind of doing the opposite of that right now, where we're winning away from home and drawing at Portland Road. Maybe if you can start to turn it around at Portland Road and just keep the away form as it is, it should be looking good. But yeah, really, really great performance from Matasiwa again. Before we go to the first break, as I said, James was at the ground today. He's actually got obviously he can tell the story a lot better next time he's on, but he's got a big old personal allegiance to the ground, because despite his accent, James is from Ipswich, but he moved to Hull when he was very young. So I think there's a big game, bragging rights for him tonight. So I'm sure he walked away very, very happy. But we'll play James's clip and his report from the ground now. And when we come back, we'll look back at Town's 2-0 victory at Hull.
Hello, boys. Just left the game. Walking now. Unreal, to be fair, sir. Our away fans, is the first thing I'll say, are fantastic. Genuinely, absolutely fantastic. We did not stop singing, shouting. It was unbelievable. There's a library, though. Hull fans are useless. Absolutely useless. And I hope some are listening so they know. Absolutely useless. Anyway, the game. First half, we controlled it. We absolutely controlled it. We should have been winning, but yet nothing was coming. Same again with the first bit of the second half. To be completely honest, we were crying out for the changes, and thank God that he did them, because honestly, I didn't think I'd say this, but Cajuste, I'm glad he got took off, because Taylor, when he come on, we needed him even more so. I know, like I say earlier, we controlled it, but Cajuste, I don't know, he wasn't up to it. I said it to a couple of the fans that I was stood with. I'm not going to lie, boys, I don't think he wants to be here, because he's not playing like he did in the Premier League. I don't think he wants to be here, but who knows. Anyway, Taylor's come on, controlled it in the second half a little bit more, but then when Philogene come on, unbelievable. He's a game changer. The fact he wants starting is obviously mental anyway, but absolute game changer, because we was crying out for the whole game. Crosses, we need to get it into the box. That's their weakness. That's Hull's weakness. Gets it in to the box. Philogene's come on, does that. Nunes scores, unbelievable. And then of course, fair play to him, Schuber scores. The changes made all the difference. So, boys, we're fourth. Gets in. Fantastic away win. We can be better. But we're getting there. We are absolutely getting there, lads. I'll see you soon. Mwah. Up at Town, come on.
Welcome back to part 2 of Track Noise. Thank you so much, James, for sending that through. Rob, as I said, they're really defensively looking a lot better. Just looking at Hull a bit from this game, they had a few chances. I mean, there was a point in the first half where they had 4 shots and we had 0. So there was a point on the face of it. It looks quite bleak. I mean, we had 11 shots to their 16, which does seem almost equal. But really, and it's a testament again to, I think, the defence and the 2 in front and Walton as well. None of them were that really speculative or kind of threatened us so much. There were a few in the first half, but predominantly it looked really good. Looking further along in the game there, it was a bit stagnant, and pace-wise it was a bit slow, similar to what we had in the first, but really the pace picked up the second the substitutes came on. We talked a lot about how last season strength and depth for the opposition really kind of did us over in a lot of games, but the quality we have now off the bench when playing well is one of the reasons why we are one of the favourites to go up this season. You saw it with the bench with changes of Philogene, Egerly and Akpom coming on for Hurst there. And a lot of them were really involved in both goals. We'll go for the first goal here, Rob. A great ball in from Philogene, and kind of just obviously not the tallest player on the pitch, but it fell in the exact right spot, and Nunes got on the bottom of it and got his third goal of the season, another goal away from home. Great way for him to open the scoring there against Hull.
Yeah, like you said, subs making an impact straight away, wasn't it? Because when did they come on? About 66 minutes, something like that, and 1-0 in the 69th minute. That it's nice to see that squad depth that we keep getting told we have, but towards the start of the season was seen to be a bit of a myth because we were just bringing on players who haven't scored a goal or haven't got a goal contribution the whole season at that point, and they weren't doing much. So it's nice to see that we are now flexing that depth and everybody's chipping in. Obviously, different people scoring goals towards the end of the international break. Nunez got him obviously off the mark at QPR, and then this is a really smart goal as well. Philogene again, brilliant. I'd say someone who I was expecting Clark to start in this game, but he didn't have his sharpest game really. And someone who normally does most of their work at home, Philogene, he's one hell of a sub to bring on in the Championship. I mean,
yeah, crazy. Big game for him as well.
That's the level, isn't it? Yeah. Obviously, of course, where he shined, wasn't it? Before he said, I know we signed him from Villa, but we wanted him after his year at Hull, didn't we? And then Villa pulled the buyback clause, and we had to wait 6 months and then sign him for about £5 million more in January. Villa were ticking off their PSR boxes, but it was at Hull. Obviously, we know he can perform at that stadium because we've seen him do it over the course of the couple of seasons he had there. And it's a fantastic ball in. He's just stuck it in exactly the right spot. It's too far out to make a keeper come tempted to go and get it, and he's fired it in there. And so you just hoping somebody's going to go in the right place. And normally you'd be aiming for Hurst in that situation with him off the pitch. Maybe thinking of Akpom, but in the end it was the late arrival from Nunez. Really good movement from him, just to ghost in between those two centre halves, get himself in the right place, and good header as well. Just had to guide. So the pace was on the ball. We just had to guide it in the corner, and he done it. That's it's just the quality shining through. Really, that obviously this was a really tough game. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, Hull were above us going in the table going into it. They've had a great start, but we have more quality on display. And you felt that the longer that game sort of dragged out at 0-0, same as Saturday. Really, I know nobody got a goal in the end, but you always felt you knew what team was going to make the moment to go and get a goal that could decide a game like this that was sort of stagnating. And like you say, it was our subs, wasn't it? We made a few changes, and then you start to think, well, this is the difference here. We should try and push on, pace off the bench, bit of energy, bit of quality. And exactly happened. It took, 3 minutes? A brilliant ball from Philogene. And so Nunez has been fantastic since he's moved into the 10. I know we were calling for it 2 or 3 weeks before it actually happened. And in the end, it had to be injuries that sort of forced it into happening. And then, but since then, we haven't looked back, have we? And good goal from him.
Yeah, absolutely. Great for him to get another goal there. And yeah, he wasn't overly influential, I'd say, Nunes in the 10. Obviously, it was just kind of on the end of it as well. But he is a massive difference maker. And there's his intentions with the ball, I think, are so key and so unique compared to most of the players in that position in the team. So really good to have him in there and getting the opener as well. And as you said, only 4 minutes later, we got our second goal from a player who obviously is typical of the man to get his first goal for club. And I'm very happy he did, but on the back of me and Richard, and I imagine a few other fans kind of going in him a wee bit after Wrexham as well, because everyone kind of felt that was a game for him to kind of take by the scruff of the neck and wasn't really able to do so. But albeit a very sort of bundled in effort after a corner, and there were shouts from offside, but I think the whole, I think it was Giles kept Akpom on side there. Tap in, but we'll take it. And, it's a cliche with strikers or attacking players. You get one in, and who knows moving forward how well you can perform. And hopefully, confidence-wise, this will do him the world of good. The fans were singing his name after just one goal as well, which is great to see. But yeah, Akpom getting his first goal for the club, and kind of, you felt at that point clinching the win for Town there, really, didn't you?
Yeah, like you say, it was exactly what he needed, wasn't it? He's been struggling, that maybe playing a position he might not want to play in, I suppose. So it was interesting to see him come on for Hurst. He sort of naturally assumed it would be Nunez when we were making that change. maybe not. Maybe it wouldn't have been a change people would have agreed with to put him on in the 10 there, but he kind of assumed that would have been the case. But yeah, I think he has to be there, don't you? It's the classic, isn't it? He only scores that because he's there in the right place at the right time. It's not like he's randomly landed on his boot. He knows where he needs to be, he's in the right place in case something happens. He gets the break and he's off the mark, and hopefully he pushes on from here. He was getting to that point where he needed something like that, just a simple little tap in to give him the confidence and say that I know how are the complaints, but there's the lad on the post who didn't step up high enough, did he? He was sort of he's on the post of the ball in. He started to come out because it's been cleared, and he's realised it's dropped back in the box, and he sort of just hesitated and stood there for a second, and he played him onside. And I say, good poacher finish. That's what we know. We know he can do it from his year at Borough. We keep saying that was almost a frustration that we know how good he can be, but hopefully, like I say, it's the confidence for him because if we're being honest, it hasn't worked when he's been in the team, has it? That's been sort of the standout reaction when you see the team every time. That when you see Akpom in the 10 over Schmodix or Nunez, you're sort of like, every time it's like, I want him to do well, but it just hasn't worked when he's been playing beforehand. And that, Wrexham was the latest example of that, really. But hopefully, whether he's going to be another option in the 9 as well as a 10 now, we'll see what happens. But I'm hoping it's one of those scenarios where you just kick on from the first one with a confidence and there's, getting the monkey off your back, sort of play with a bit more freedom, but you're not thinking about it all the time, and he pushes on from here because we know he's a great player and he just needs to show it a bit more often. But like I say, right place, right time. He had to be there and he was. So I'm hoping that he goes on from here. But importantly, in the context of the game, it got a job done.
Absolutely. Do you think, before moving on with the show here, do you think with Akpom, I've seen some people on our socials saying how he should be playing him a 9 instead, and I think, obviously, it doesn't record and doesn't really sort of highlight where your position is on the field normally. But as you said, he came on for Hurst rather than you probably would have expected Aslan to come on for Hurst as it is usually. Is that a sign potentially of? I mean, McKenna's not a moron. He knows when a player's not thriving in a certain position or a certain position isn't thriving regardless of who's there. Hence why Nunes was kind of moved up there as the season's moved on. And I know we have Hurst and Aslan there as our on paper at least strikers. But do you think he's maybe noticed if maybe a Schmolix return and kind of occupies that 10 a bit more with Nunes and Schmolix between the two, and then Akpom? Yeah, it's 3 players, but I feel it's certainly an area of the pitch he can contribute a lot more in playing him at 9 role. Is that something you could see moving forward, perhaps?
Yeah, I think definitely this time of the year as well. Like we say, all these fixtures now.
Good point.
We obviously it's busy for everyone, but we've got the extra game in there because we've got the rearranged Blackburn one. So there's nobody with a busier schedule in the Championship than Ipswich in the next few weeks. So we're going to have to rotate round. I think. I'll say there's different things to take from it. Maybe you don't know what's definitely true or not, but I think the fact that McKenna's gone to trial Akpom in there and it seems to have worked out. But I think the fact Azom didn't even get on the pitch today would sort of suggest that he's going to start on Friday night. I think might be the case. I think we're sort of back, like I say, the squad depth is there, isn't it? We have good enough players in every position apart from maybe left back because of Townsend's injury, we've got 2 good enough players in every position really, so we can afford to rotate round and manage the minutes over this period and still get as many results as possible. So I think that was made. Experimenting seems the wrong word because you're playing somebody who used to play as a 9 and score loads of goals back in the 9. So it's not really an experiment to do it, but I think it's something that McKenna wanted to look at and see, right, how feasible is this as an option? And it seems to have paid off because straight away he's got himself in the right sort of position, a striker's position. No, it's from set piece. He probably would have been there anyway because he was on the pitch, it's not going to be role specific, but it's the instincts are there. Like I say, you have to be like, you can say it was lucky that he was there and gets himself a tap in and stuff, but he's there because he knows where he needs to be. He's used his experience, and so we know he scored a lot of goals. He knew the sort of area to be in where the ball might drop to for him, and that's exactly what happened. So it's certainly going to be an option there. So I think we'll see it over these run of games because we do effectively have 2 strikers. which some we spoke about last year as well, even this year, that we're one injury up top away from relying on one person to play 90 minutes every week. So we need to be looking at the likes of Akpom and Schmodix, anyone else who could do shifts up front, even if it's just for 15, 20 minutes in a game, because we will get injuries this time of year. Say Kayuste now that injuries will happen, whether even if they're just little knocks. But at this point, you get a knock that puts you out for a week. You miss 2 games at the moment, so there's going to be a lot of rotation in there, and it's just a new option to the bow, and it seems to suit him quite a bit better than a 10 so far.
Yeah, absolutely. If you can certainly unlock him, it will not be a bad thing, that's for sure. Just as you said though, Akpom's goal did seal the victory for Town there. Kind of dragged towards the end there. Ben Johnson came on for Nunez on the 83rd minute mark just to get a bit of run around, and so Nunez got the praise of the travelling fans as he does most games, which is really, really good to see. But yeah, that ended the game there. Town of a 2-0 victory, 3rd away win in a row, as you said, 6 games unbeaten. Now, before we look ahead to Friday, we'll do a quick little preview for up to Oxford. Is obviously not so much to go on from the end of the season, but as you said, we're now 4th in the table. At time of recording, we've still got Bristol and Millwall who are playing tomorrow, the only 2 sides who could potentially go above us in the table, with both on 25 points at the moment. But, press and draw. Obviously, Borough lost a massive game against Coventry, who just look incredible at moments. We'll be playing them early December. That'll be our next home game, actually, so it'll be a big, big atmosphere, that one. But 4th in the table, game in hand, 3 points off second. I think considering where we've been so far this season, it's kind of maybe where we should be considering how we've been playing, but we're climbing, aren't we? We're climbing, which I think is good to see.
Yeah, like I said, we don't know what's happening with the Bristol City Millwall results, but guaranteed, even if they both win, we're guaranteed to go into this weekend's fixtures in the top 6.
Yeah.
Which hasn't been, I want to say would be the first time all season, but certainly it's been a bit all over the place, the results. But it seems to be to the consistency now. It's 14 points and 18 or whatever we worked it out as since Charlton.
Yeah.
Charlton felt like a breaking point, didn't it? That was how we respond to that game was going to be important and was going to define the rest of the season. And we've bounced back incredibly well. Like I say, the only 2 games to drop points in, but importantly haven't lost either of them, and also we're fairly unlucky to not get wins as well. Like both games missed at least one massive chance, which would have decided the game had we put it away. But we've done enough to win all 6 games since that Charlton one, and so the signs it's not perfect, because if it was perfect, we'd have grinded out the results against Watford and Wrexham as well. But it's certainly on the right track, and Coventry aside, who will just probably just go on and win this league quite comfortably now, because Borough hadn't lost at home, so we know from experience how good Borough are at home as well from our game there. So if they can go and win that in the manner they did, then there's probably going to be no stopping them. But you look at the rest of the teams up there, and you'd back us, wouldn't you? Some of the other teams, Stoke going second. Stoke have been brilliant this year, but again, it's not played on paper, is it? Football, you say it all the time, but I look at the teams up and around there, and I'd say even Millwall, Bristol City, even if they hope to overtake us after their games, you feel you'd be confident the way we're going, we'll continue to be above them. Borough, again, had their sort of momentum upended a little bit with the whole Rob Edwards situation. Stoke, again, you sort of feels like Stoke, not to this extent normally, but it feels like Stoke do start most seasons well and then just collapse from about January onwards and tumble down the table. And you see you've got Preston one position below us. Southampton are climbing now with the new manager, to be fair, but it feels like the sort of teams around us are all teams you feel like we can gain points on. Oh, well, I was going to say quite easily, but I was probably taking it a bit too far. But we can certainly gain points on these teams, and you probably, maybe there's the bias coming into it here, but you probably put us as the current favourites, I would say, on form to keep going and get that second automatic spot at the moment if you're assuming Coventry are going to win the league. But obviously it's a long way to go. We're not even halfway through the season yet, but we're certainly on the right trend. It's just quite funny how it's flipped from the start of the year, really, where
getting me excited.
We look really good. Yeah. This is quite funny how it's swapped round, though, isn't it? That it was all doom and gloom, but at least we were doing well at home, and now suddenly we're dropping points and looking a bit worse at home, but we're looking really good on the road, and the results are ticking by. That's quite funny that And sort of the first 8 games is very different to how the second 8 games have gone this season, but we're certainly on the right track. And it'll be a tough game again. Oxford, they're better at home than they are away. Look, they are struggling, but I mean,
They
they
haven't won at home since Derby in October. 2-1
Yeah.
1-0 win. Yeah.
But I said they nabbed a point in the last minute against Norwich, didn't they? So
Yeah, Stockton winning their first home game, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I was going to say that shows they fight till the end, but actually, to be honest, drawing away at Norwich has become quite a bad result this year. You should be winning if you go into Carrow Road, really, if you're anybody but Norwich, how the year's gone on this year. But
that will get clipped up if we don't get a result there in the new year, by the way.
That's all right. It's in about 5 months. We've got time to forget about that. But I don't know. It's nothing's a given, and that's what I feel like it's going to. From the outside, everyone's just going to assume an easy win. But nothing's a given in the Championship, and we've been to. So it'd be nice for the supporters who travel to Oxford on Friday night to go there and actually see the game. Because you remember when we played them in League One, that was that game of horrible fog, and we got beat, and they're trying to the point where they were debating abandoning the match because nobody could really see where the ball was. So, I had a mate a few of my mates were in the away end that day, and they literally couldn't see part of the pitch from the away end. So it'd be nice for some travelling town fans to go and actually watch a game at the Kassam Stadium this time around, and hopefully we get it done, because it is. I say nothing's a given, but it's the sort of game we do really need to be winning if we're going to. And I feel like we're on a good enough run of form now that this is less of a banana skin than it would have been 2 months or even a month ago, really.
Especially Friday night is the only game in town, isn't it? It's a good chance to lay down a marker ahead of the weekend as well, and kind of put everyone on notice a bit more, as we potentially, if we win that game, and could go in second or be approaching the top 3 of a.
Yeah, it'll be second, won't it? Yeah, because we're only 1 goal difference behind Stoke, and we've already got better goal. We got much better goal difference than Middlesbrough already. So you go into the Saturday game second in the league, and that puts pressure on everyone else to go and get a result, because suddenly you'll be the one they're chasing, and you always rather have the points on the board. And obviously that's the issue of us having a game in hand at the moment, obviously. But we'll finally get that out of the way next week as well, and we'll know where we stand by sort of this time next week, really, won't we? That if all things going well, we could be second in the league by then, because I don't think anyone's going to catch Coventry at this point. So second seems to be the next thing to aim for.
Well, it worked out well last time, finishing second, didn't it? So let's hope it can be the case this time. That's going to do it for today's show. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Rob, thanks so much for joining me. It's good to have you back on the pod. We'll be back next Monday for our review of Town's game against Oxford. That will be thick and fast again a few days later for the Blackburn review as well. But whilst you're here, if you head over to our socials, give us a follow and all that sort of lovely stuff. If you're on YouTube, give us a like, subscribe. Again, that really does help us out as we're just starting out. Also, I should add, I forgot to mention this at the start, which is quite bad. We are looking to expand the team, actually, in the coming weeks and new year. So if you are a keen podcaster, a big Town fan, one of them or both of them, preferred perhaps, and you want to get involved, if you want to drop us a DM on one of the socials or just give us a comment here, that would be really, really appreciative, and we'd love to get involved. We're a small team of 4, and we do our best to be available as a 2, but sometimes, if you've seen, we've had some podcaster ones, and we don't want to do that. We want to be talking to someone else and actually having a back and forth. It's a much better experience for you guys and us as well. So if you're interested in joining Track to Noise, please do get in touch. We'd be happy and really excited to hear from you all. But yeah, that's going to do it for today's show, and we'll see you all next time.